We are back with more Sonic Frontiers content here on the channel, and today we are going to be breaking down the first-hand impressions of Sonic Frontiers. The guy who played Frontiers said he played Frontiers for about 4 hours. You'll hear him reiterate that later in this video. But this guy, he played Frontiers, he talked to Iizuka, and this is a pretty good source to look at when it comes to Sonic Frontiers. And from listening to it and reading what he had to say, there has been a lot of positivity about this game. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And so yeah, without further ado, let's jump into this. So first off, we finally got something about the plot. So everybody was wondering, about the ghost voice in the beginning of these, the teaser trailers and stuff like that. They were wondering, is it Amy? Heck, some people were even wondering if it was Tails. Well, I want you to take a listen to this, and we'll be talking about this just in a little bit. And I believe a lot of you will be happy to see what he has to say.
The first thing that struck me about Sonic Frontiers was how uniquely somber and serene it was right from the outset. After flying into a wormhole with Tails and Amy, Sonic finds himself separated from his friends and all alone on an isolated island, with nothing but an AI voice guiding him to collect the Chaos Emeralds. There's no one for Sonic to bounce quips off of, no energetic Crush 40 soundtrack, just wide open fields as far as the eye can see. There's an air of mystery in Sonic Frontiers, and it's a vibe that's driven home even further by the beautiful yet minimalist piano melodies that accompany Sonic as he explores the island.
So from what we just heard there, Sonic Frontiers is going to have more of a little serene and somber type of mood when it comes to this game. So I'm really excited to see what they have planned for this. I actually, I'm kind of happy because lately we haven't had, a lot more darker, I wouldn't say this would be too dark, but more of a darker side to a Sonic story. So this seems really intriguing to me, to say the least. And also the plot thickens. As he said there, we hear that Sonic, Tails, and Amy. So for those who thought that Tails or Amy wasn't the ghost voice in the beginning, that's not truly correct, but we all win, so Tails and Amy will be somehow involved in the game. And they said they fell into a wormhole, and now Sonic has been transported to an isolated island and separated from all his friends. So, and also, to touch on something that also happened, Knuckles was revealed in a little, little teaser. It was a few seconds long, probably nanoseconds. A little teaser of him staying in front of the Master Emerald while it was raining for the prologue, so we'll have to see what happens there. And yeah, so obviously that AI voice for Sonic is guiding him to go collect the Chaos Emeralds. So I guess the Chaos Emeralds are now confirmed, but that's a good thing. Seems like they have forgotten about the Chaos Emeralds over the past few years, so I'm happy to hear that. And that Frontiers has a mysterious vibe to it, and sadly no Crush 40 music, but I'll probably talk about that later. So let's hear more about this mysterious vibe that they're going for.
Past games in the Sonic series have taken different tones depending on their stories and themes. This time, these mysterious islands are the game's major setting. That's why our artists have worked hard to create a mysterious mood.
So from hearing what Iizuka has said about this game so far, he really wants Sonic Frontiers to have more of a mysterious vibe to it. And I can kind of see why from what we've seen. I mean, Sonic is on an isolated island. He has no idea where he is. Stuff is happening. His friends are gone. Just everything's all over the place. And the tones of Sonic games recently have been a little bit more lively. And now we're finally getting a little bit more of I guess an other side of the spectrum here with Sonic Frontiers. And with the music and stuff, I believe it really does help out with what they're trying to do. And now we're going to go touch in on the open world aspect of Sonic Frontiers.
Open world games like Zelda or other AAA games fundamentally have RPG or adventure worlds. For Sonic, the core here is a 3D action game. Our basic idea was to have that take place in open space. What sets Sonic Frontiers apart is this different approach to an open game world. Having played Sonic Frontiers for about 4 hours, it's easy to see what Iizuka-san means. Sonic Frontiers' open zone design is very different from any other open world I've played. It's a giant playground. Every few feet there's a bumper spring that bounces you like a pinball between 5 other bumpers before putting you on one of the many grindable rail tracks. Or a speed ramp that sets you on a completely different path leading to some other collectible or reward. Or a line of rings that you can lightspeed dash into. Essentially, they've taken that core appeal of every Sonic level having multiple paths that eventually loop back around to the main one, and applied that to these giant non-linear open zones. One thing that has to be noted is that very few of these elements are built into the environmental design, meaning that rails, platforms, boost rings, and so on are just inexplicably floating in the air all around, which isn't totally unusual for a Sonic game, but it feels especially jarring in Frontiers in particular because of the frequent and sudden pop-in of these objects and the otherwise very naturalistic art style.
So after hearing that, I can clearly kind of figure out what they were going for with Sonic Frontiers. Of course, a big comparison that has been happening with Sonic Frontiers is basically like, oh, this is the Breath of the Wild version of Sonic from Zelda, you know, but after hearing that, you can clearly hear that they're going for a very different vibe with this game. This is going to be basically like any other Sonic game, you know, an action type game, which, you know, in any other Sonic game, it's a linear path, you know, you have to go one way to be able to clear the game. With this here, it's basically an open playground for Sonic, something that us Sonic fans have been clamoring for a while. An open playground, we can just run everywhere, and they've taken the aspects of multiple pathways in Sonic games and Sonic levels to get to the goal, and they've created it in more of an open playing world. So that is a good thing to hear. I'm actually pretty excited about what we're going to be able to see and do in this game. And of course, with the pop-ins of the rails and bumpers, that's just regular Sonic games. But let's actually take a look at this next thing.
Of course, it's worth emphasizing that this gameplay and the version that I played were from an early build, but this is definitely an area that I would hope to see improvement in the final version.
So that is an important part of what he just said right there, that the things we've been seeing so far, the gameplay, you know, the premiere of how Sonic moves in the open world and the combat are all in the early build of the game. So I know a lot of people have been, you know, like upset about this game. It doesn't look good. Well, now they finally confirmed that this is an early build of the game. So maybe the outlash of things that have just been said bad about Sonic Frontiers will calm down now a little bit, because now they finally confirmed that it is a early build of this open world game, and that there are still things that can be done to fix this game. So hoping they do fix the right things that they need to fix and not the wrong things. But let's continue listening on.
Beyond that, there are also a wide variety of puzzles and challenges that are littered throughout the zone, and completing them is how you uncover sections of your map. Most of these are very simple, requiring you to orient a statue the correct way, quickly hop back and forth between colored tiles, or use Sonic's new side loop ability to draw circles around certain objects in the environment to interact with them. The best ones, though, are the races against the clock, where you have to get from point A to point B in a limited amount of time. The openness of Frontiers level design makes straightforward races like these a ton of fun, because you have to try and improvise a path to the end that might not be immediately obvious.
So there we kind of give an in-depth, you know, hearing about what the puzzles are going to be like in this game. Of course, you mentioned like the little spin cycle move that we've been seeing in these trailers. It is called the side loop for Sonic. And basically, we're doing these puzzles. There's going to be a lot of puzzles. You know, you got the side loop puzzles. You got the little turn puzzle that we saw. We got the flashing light puzzle where you have to walk along the lights to get where you need to go. And then you have to, you know, go back and forth between some flashing tiles. You know, just different puzzles that are going to be scattered around the open world area. So, and I also like how he mentioned like the races against time, and that you're going to have to, you know, just improvise your own path to get there, and it might not be immediately obvious as you're going about your day playing this game. So I'm very interested about how the puzzles are going to play in through this game. Of course, you're going to have to do these puzzles to get to other areas in the game so you can progress through the story. But I'm really excited to see what they do with those puzzles. And maybe in a future video, I'll go more in depth of how I believe those puzzles can be very good for the game. Well, next up in this video, or the article, was about the combat. And we already know how I feel about the combat, but let's hear more about it just in case.
There are some exceptions, but combat in traditional Sonic games generally isn't a thing that goes much deeper than jumping, rolling, or using a homing attack into enemies at the right time. That changes in Sonic Frontiers, which now has you fighting all sorts of wandering enemies and mini-bosses using an all-new array of incredibly flashy attacks. It's not all style and no substance though. Sonic is able to quickly dodge using the bumper buttons on the gamepad, and by pressing them together, he can even parry attacks with the right timing. His homing attack also feels much more powerful, landing with a ton of impact and keeping Sonic stuck to his enemy, allowing for a flurry of follow-up strikes. One of the things I really appreciate about the combat from what I played is that there are usually multiple ways to deal with specific enemies. Like, take for example this guy, who has an impenetrable shell that he can expand into spinning blades and throw at you. One way to deal with him is just to carefully time your homing attacks so you don't get hit by the blades. but if you do that, the window to damage him is small. To increase that window, you can either parry the blades and knock them away right before they hit you, or you can even use Sonic's side loop ability to encircle the enemy, which causes the shell to go flying upwards.
So yeah, that clip really speaks for itself. He talks about how, you can parry attacks with pushing buttons on the D-pad. Sonic's homing attack sticks onto the enemies now, so you can put a lot more damage and other things like that. So I really like how they upped Sonic's combat in this game, and of course with the side loop abilities and stuff like that. But there was another element that he talked about here.
Defeating these enemies will reward you with EXP that you can use to purchase new skills from a skill tree, which gives Sonic Frontiers a really nice feeling of power progression, even in just the relatively short amount of time that I played. Some of the later skills that you can get are just unbelievably cool, and it's super satisfying to see Sonic Team experiment with different ways that Sonic can attack enemies beyond just spins, jumps, and bumps.
So in that short little clip, he talks about, a skill tree type of dynamic where basically, you'll have to, use XP that you get from defeating enemies to unlock and upgrade Sonic so you can get other attacks later in the games. And one attack that comes to my mind is that you'll probably have to unlock is the little tornado attack that we've been seeing in these teaser trailers and the combat trailers, stuff like that. But what he said is pretty cool, that from playing the game early, that some of the attacks that you have are pretty good to begin with, and then as you go on, you get some of the cooler moves for Sonic that is not just, homing attacks, bumps, and stomps, and stuff like that. So Sonic's combat has really taken a step up and a step forward here with Sonic Frontiers, and I'm really excited to see how they do with this game, and possibly we'll get into more detail about that in a later video down the line. But now it's time to hear about the Titan bosses. This is something that everybody has been curious about, how the Titan boss is going to work. We saw a little bit of one Titan boss in the combat premiere. So let's see what Mitchell here had to say about fighting a Titan here in Sonic Frontiers.
In addition to these smaller enemies, there are also a handful of enormous world bosses that I had to contend with. These are near Shadow of the Colossus-esque in their scale, with one in particular against a beast named Asura, requiring Sonic to bait the Titan to slam the ground and then boost up its arm in order to reach the weak spots on its head. It's an ambitious boss battle, far beyond anything I've seen in the Sonic series to date, but it's also the part of the game that needs the most work. Far too often I'd fly off the boss's arm without knowing why, or I'd get to the top and for some reason lack the momentum needed to actually reach the head.
So here we get the first little bit, I would say, in this video so far, deep criticism about Sonic Frontiers, and it's basically that the Titan bosses still need work. And I kind of, saw that coming. This is the first time really trying to do something in this form of bosses. He said this is the most ambitious and big boss that we've probably seen in Sonic gaming ever, which I definitely agree. This is definitely going to be anything like any other Sonic boss. So basically, yeah, I can see why they would say this would need more work. As you say, you flying off the arms, not having enough momentum, get up to the head. But I kind of have big faith in that they will get done what they need to get done with these Titan bosses. So with these Titan bosses, obviously, you're going to have, with this one, to be exact, at least the one he was talking about, which is playing on the screen right now, you're going to have to journey up to the head, take out all the weak points and stuff like that, blah, 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 to get where you need to get. And it gives you these things called a vault key, I believe it's called. We'll hear him talk about it just after this. And it gets you get to these stages called cyberspace stage levels. So we're going to hear him go into a little bit more depth about that in a few.
Sonic must hunt down and defeat these bosses in order to collect portal gears, which open up portals that lead to bite-sized linear stages, done in the style of previous Sonic games, giving Sonic Frontiers a nice mix of both old and new styles. These classic levels each come with a handful of optional goals, like beating the level under a certain time, collecting all the red rings, and so on, with each goal rewarding you with a vault key, which are needed to unlock the coveted Chaos Emeralds.
I apologize, I completely mixed things up after realizing what I said in the last one. You get the portable gears after beating these things, and then you get access to these cyber levels, which will have mandatory requirements for you to get the vault key. There you go, get the vault key, which helps you get the Chaos Emeralds. So of course with those cyber levels, he said like this certain time that you have to beat the levels in, getting all the red rings, you know, blah, blah, blah. Stuff like a regular Sonic game would have you do like some objectives to get some other, rewards. So I'm kind of curious to see how those levels go. Maybe we get some more upbeat music in those type of cyberspace levels. We will have to see what happens there. But now let's hear his final thoughts, Mitchell's final thoughts on what he believes can happen with this game.
Sonic Frontiers is an exciting new step forward for the Sonic series into uncharted territory, and based on my time with it, Sonic Team seems to have hit upon a winning formula. There's certainly still work to be done before it's released during the holiday season. There's a lot of distracting pop-in, there's a fair amount of bugs still left to be squashed, and the big boss fights could do with some tweaking. But ultimately, my time with this early build answered the one question I had on my mind. Will Sonic's one-of-a-kind gameplay translate into an open world? The answer is a resounding absolutely.
And okay, what's really reassuring about that is the question he asked himself, will Sonic's gameplay be able to transition into a wide open world? He answered with a resounding yes. So that is very, very good to hear. Obviously, there is still stuff to be worked on with this game, and I believe Sonic Team, they will be able to work out the kinks, and they will hopefully be able to get us a good game at the end of this. I am actually very excited for this game. I've said this many times throughout these videos, but I'm really hyped. I really want to see what this game has to offer. And sadly, earlier today, the summer Game Fest was today, and we didn't get a story, plot trailer from Sonic Frontiers, but it is fine. We kind of have a feeling what the plot's going to be, with Tails, Amy, and Sonic. Will Eggman be involved in this? Most likely, but when? I have no idea. We'll just have to wait and see what happens there. Who opened the wormhole? What happened here? And how does Knuckles play into all this? And will we see anybody else in this game from the Sonic cast? So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time with another video on the second channel. Take care.